If you like The Big Short, then definitely need to see this one. So Too Big to Fail is done by HBO Studios. So I don't think it was ever released to like the big screen, but it was done by HBO. And essentially it is like a sequel in a sense to The Big Short. So The Big Short leads up to the whole financial crisis, what was going on, how people were planning to take advantage of it. And then when things actually happen and what was done in reaction to it, that's where Too Big to Fail comes into play. And first time I saw it, just a couple nights ago, and it was fantastic. Now, I wouldn't say it was perfect, but if you like the stock market, if you just like financial markets as a whole, highly, highly recommend it. What it does is essentially follows Hank Paulson, who was the Treasury Secretary at the time, when the big financial bubble popped, the housing bubble popped, and it goes kind of a documentary style through what he went through in terms of what he tried to do, what was going on, phone calls made, and all these different, attributes that all surrounded, starting with, Bear Stearns happened, and then the main focus at the beginning is more Lehman Brothers, and then it goes from there. And it just does a very good job of showing all the different things that were taking place, how different events were interacting with one another, and how certain conclusions were reached, why certain conclusions didn't work, why certain conclusions did work, and just need to see how everything played out. Now, it is Hollywood, right? So I'm assuming that the big overarching themes are totally historically factual. I mean, certain things happened where, yeah, that's how it happened. Now, as far as phone calls, conversations, obviously I'm sure Hollywood spiced those things up a little bit. But at the same token, I don't think that really spiced up probably the intensity of things, because if you lived through it, it was certainly a very intense time, and I can only imagine how intense it was to be in those rooms, to be on those phone calls and such. So there's some super interesting things, especially when if indeed true, but Lehman Brothers, for example, I don't want to ruin it, but if that CEO wasn't such a freaking moron, who knows, maybe a lot of this could have been avoided, but other things that happened, probably not avoided. But Lehman Brothers CEO, again, I don't want to jump to conclusion because maybe Hollywood is portraying you, but man, if he would have just put his ego aside, maybe that whole time period would have been different. But that was just one little thing where I found it super fascinating. Now, the couple of drawbacks are, it's confusing. There's a whole lot of people, and again, they do it documentary style, so they are giving names and who they are. But if you try to keep track of everybody, it's just not going to work out because there's a lot of names. But on the flip side, it's not like you need to know everybody in order for everything to make sense. I mean, at the end, you have your main character, and he's surrounded by certain people. But if you get confused, you don't think that you have to know all the names. But that's the one thing, is there are a whole lot of names that just kind of come into play. And then the one thing, and I have no idea if the movie was trying to get political, but there was never any personal. There's a conversation that takes place, which does an awesome job of explaining how everything essentially mounted and then crashed. And I'll just leave it at this. Personal responsibility never comes into the blame. It's blamed all on the banks. And yes, the banks had a part of things, but personal responsibility from that point of view, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because that should have been a little bit more focused on, but I'll just leave it at that. But besides those two things, a great movie, highly recommend it. I'll put the link down below if you want to check it out, from Amazon or what have you. But again, if you like the markets, if you like The Big Short, then it's not intended that way, but it really is a good transition into what The Big Short was building up to, and then how things worked behind the scenes. So highly recommend it. And now, if you don't like, my wife, for example, wait, you understood all that stuff? I mean, you gotta have a passion. You have to like the markets. But if you do, yeah, check it out for sure.